welcome or welcome back to Planet Mars. And my dog would like to say hi too. Say hi, Emmy. Today we will be discussing more on OCD. We will be discussing some healthy coping mechanisms for intrusive thoughts. We will be discussing the difference between compulsive confessions and healthy sharing. And we will also be discussing more on false memories. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so I got this from a therapist. She was awful. But my psychologist seemed to agree with this information, so that's good. And it basically just tells you what to do when you have an intrusive thought. So I'll go ahead and read it off to you. It says engagement response. OCD gets stronger. So these are the things that will make your OCD stronger when you have an intrusive thought. Resisting thoughts, avoiding thoughts, judging thoughts, good or bad, appropriate or inappropriate, connecting and thinking a thought, hating thoughts, wishing you didn't have certain thoughts, trying to control thoughts, feeling guilty or disgusted about having certain thoughts. Tells your OCD you do not approve of the thought, which is like judging it. Wanting peace or no anxiety, blaming yourself and others for your condition, distracting yourself and trying not to notice thoughts, freezing or being stuck and not doing anything. Tells your OCD that there is a real reason for existing as signals real danger. Remember, the fight, flight, or freeze response all increase OCD. Breathing exercises tells OCD there is danger. You are acknowledging all mental compulsions from other lists. I don't have other lists. Now, here are some non-engagement responses. OCD gets weaker with these responses. Allowing all thoughts to be there. Being open to all thoughts. Neutrality about all thoughts. Non-judgment. Just noticing a thought but not connecting. Non-critical of thoughts. Radical acceptance of all thoughts. Willing to have any type of thought. Being compassionate with yourself about thoughts. You have no control over your thoughts. Why do you act like you can? They worded that kind of weird. Being okay with all emotions and still doing what you want to do. Accepting and being compassionate about past behaviors. This one's important. Labeling a thought and refocusing your awareness. And at the very bottom it says, remember, your inward thoughts and attitudes matter. Your mind knows your mind knows your true thoughts. You really must turn your mind and be open to changing your beliefs. It is the only way to heal from OCD. Ask yourself, how is your current way of doing things working out? So I hope that could help you guys a little bit with coping with your intrusive thoughts. Moving on, we're going to be discussing false memories again. So let's see here. So we're going to be discussing the signs and symptoms of false memories. So some of them are worrying they said or did something inappropriate, constantly doubting their version of events, convincing themselves that they are responsible for something they didn't do, and experiencing thoughts about things that didn't happen. So that would be a sign of false memories and a symptom. So that's the obsession right there, and here's the compulsion. Repeatedly asking for reassurance that things really happened the way they remember them. Replaying memories over and over to assess their accuracy, imagining a new version of events, searching for evidence related to the event, confessing to things they didn't do, and that's very dangerous. So if you have false memories, be very careful about confessing to things you didn't do. Immediately get help for your OCD before you go running around thinking you're the spawn of Satan. And now we're going to talk about what causes false memories. Many people assume that rich false memories are rare, but the reality is they're relatively common. Someone with OCD may fixate on their false memories. So fixating on it can make it worse. And what can help? Cognitive behavioral therapy, so CBT therapy can help. And then it goes on to say support groups can help. And as we know, exposure response prevention can help. Hope I'm not going too fast for anyone. All these articles will be linked below so you can read them for yourself. You can read the whole article. Next, we're going to be talking about OCD compulsive confessing OCD, compulsive confessions versus healthy sharing. So, is it helpful to share your OCD symptoms with someone else? The answer depends on your intentions. And I know it's hard with OCD to know what your intentions are. Sharing your experience with another person can bring us support, validation, and empathy, but could also fuel OCD's fire if the sharing is a compulsive confession. So what is a compulsive confession? It goes on to say people with OCD may feel the urge to confess unwanted thoughts, feelings, sensations, images, and urges to another person. They may also confess compulsions that they have performed or other behaviors that they feel guilty about. Think about real event OCD, where a person excessively fixates on something that has actually happened in the past. Now, real events can be mixed in with false memories, so this time it's just talking about a real event that maybe isn't mixed in with a false memory, but I have literally never met anyone with OCD who did not mix a little bit of their false memories in with that real event, so just throwing that out there. Okay. Okay, so it says sufferers perceive they have done wrong, and that is an attempt to alleviate anxiety, guilt, and other painful emotions, they'll confess. Okay. In addition to alleviating discomfort related to obsessions and compulsions, people with OCD may confess to being completely honest, so that the person they are confessing to truly knows them. This can happen in a therapist's office. So yes, you feel like you need to confess every single mistake, and not just your mistakes, every single intrusive thought, and every single thing that may or may not have happened. That is an example of compulsive confessions. So what's the result of all this confessing? The obsession gets louder. It also falsely teaches a person that the only way to cope with uncomfortable thoughts and feelings is to perform the compulsion. This is not true. It might be uncomfortable at first to resist confession, but this leads to much more freedom and relief in the long run. Resist those compulsions and you will be free. So what about healthy sharing? How can that be different? Oh wait, let me rail that back a little bit, because I want to read this part to you. For example, a person with relationship OCD might compulsively confess their intrusive thoughts they had about their partner to their partner. Even if the partner knows the thoughts are part of the OCD experience, it can be painful to hear about. Also, I used to seek a lot of reassurance from a certain person, and I think I hurt them a lot because I was constantly asking them if I hurt someone, if I did this, if I did that, or what if I did this, what if I did that, and it stressed the hell out of them. So be compassionate with yourself and others, and fight that urge to confess, because it doesn't just harm you. And like it said, if you have relationship OCD, it can harm your partner too. So moving forward, what about healthy sharing? How can I know the difference? Sharing your symptoms with another person is not automatically a compulsion. There can be great benefits in opening up to another person and letting yourself be known. This can foster intimacy and connection with relationships. When considering whether something is a confession or healthy sharing, it's important to look at the intention behind the sharing and what the reason for sharing this is. Sharing because you fear something terrible will happen if you don't? Is that why you're sharing? Or are you sharing... Sorry, my dogs are having fun today. So, or are you sharing because I must confess or else? Those who confess compulsively often say they do not even want to be confessing. They feel the urge to do do so, and the urge is very difficult to resist, as with all compulsions. So, are you wanting to talk about this at this time, or are you like, God, I just have to, or I'm a terrible person if I don't? It can be confusing when both things exist, and the desire for someone to understand your pain and the sense of urgency to confess now. It can be confusing when both things exist, the desire for someone to understand your pain and the sense of urgency to confess now. In these instances, it might be more helpful to talk about OCD generally than to confess every unwanted thought you have ever had. So you could educate them a little bit on OCD. And then something you can ask yourself to make sure you're not doing an unhealthy compulsion by confessing. You can ask yourself, why am I sharing this, and what am I hoping to achieve? So I will be linking all of these articles down below, either in the description or in the comments, so you can read them for yourself, guys. I hope you found some of that information to be a little bit helpful. I am a psychology student, so I do know a thing or two about OCD, and that's why I give you some of this information. I also know how to find credible information, so everything, because I was taught so in college, so everything I'm reading to you is credible. My puppy says goodbye, and I say I love you, Christians. Bye-bye.